You know that oddly satisfying sense of relief when your Friday night plans get canceled? It's not laziness, and it's not just introversion either. For some people, solitude isn't simply a preference. It's the only place they've ever truly felt safe. Maybe you've spent your whole life being called independent or self-sufficient. But have you ever stopped to wonder why relying on other people feels so uncomfortable? Why deep down it feels like the only person you can truly count on is yourself? By the end of this video, you'll understand how childhood chaos, even the quiet, invisible kind, can rewire your nervous system to prefer being alone. We're going to explore why what looked like maturity was often a survival strategy, and how your brain built a fortress of self-reliance to protect you from disappointment and emotional neglect. Most importantly, you'll see how the very walls that once kept you safe are now the same walls standing between you and the connection you deserve. Society tends to praise the independent child. They're called an old soul, so mature for their age, or wise beyond their years. But psychology often sees something different. In many cases, this pattern is linked to parentification, a situation where a child is forced to carry emotional or practical responsibilities that belong to adults. You didn't choose to be strong. You became strong because there was no other choice. It often begins in a home where the emotional climate feels unpredictable. When a child reaches out for comfort and is met with indifference, distraction, or irritation, the brain adapts. It makes a simple but powerful calculation. Asking for help leads to disappointment. So instead of reaching outward, it learns to rely inward. It decides that if no one is coming, it has to become its own source of safety, comfort, and support. Your preference for being alone is not a personality flaw. In many ways, it's a biological adaptation. For a child raised in chaos, home was never truly a sanctuary. It was a place of tension, uncertainty, and constant emotional scanning. A place where the nervous system stayed on high alert. That's why, today, your empty room doesn't feel lonely. It feels peaceful. It's not a hiding place. It's a recovery room, a biological charging station where your nervous system can finally stop performing and start regulating. You probably became an expert at reading a room long before you could fully understand what was happening inside it. People may call that emotional intelligence, but often it was hypervigilance. You weren't reading faces to connect, you were reading faces to survive. To figure out whether the ground beneath you was stable enough to stand on. You may also find yourself constantly over-explaining your decisions or apologizing for things that don't require an apology. That voice comes from a child who learned that their needs were inconvenient. So you learned to shrink yourself, to be easy, to be low maintenance, to make sure you never became a burden to anyone. And because of that, receiving care can feel strangely uncomfortable. To you, love may not feel like warmth. It may feel like a debt, an obligation, even a trap. That's often what happens when love was conditional, when your value depended on being useful, helpful, or emotionally available for everyone else. It's why so many hyper-independent people become the therapist friend. You show up for everyone, but the moment you're the one struggling, you disappear. Your independence is actually built around a very specific wound. The pain of needing something important and having to face that need alone. You handle everything yourself not because you're naturally stoic, but because depending on someone else once felt too risky. Because unmet needs hurt. And eventually, avoiding that pain can feel safer than asking for help. Many highly self-reliant adults also experience alexithymia, a difficulty recognizing, identifying, or describing their own emotions. When your feelings were ignored, dismissed, or treated as inconvenient, you never had the chance to develop a language for them. So instead of experiencing emotions clearly, You learn to disconnect from them. You move through life feeling slightly removed from yourself, watching others experience emotions deeply while your own feelings remain distant, muted, or difficult to access. The truth is, your independence is not a medal, it's a scar. You are not antisocial, you are pro-safety. The survival gear you've been wearing for decades was incredibly intelligent. It helped you navigate an environment where vulnerability wasn't safe. But you're not living in that environment anymore. And one of the most powerful realizations you can have is this. What you call self-reliance may actually be a reflex developed by a child who was never fully allowed to be a child. You no longer have to carry everything alone just to prove your worth. You never did. Which of these survival habits felt most familiar to you? The hyper-independence? The constant over-explaining? Or the automatic, I'm fine reflex? Let me know in the comments. Because sometimes simply naming these patterns is the first real step towards seeing yourself clearly and giving yourself the understanding you should have received a long time ago.